points, and after that we'll have some real-time scenarios for error handling. In this we will discuss regarding that we will have some real-time scenarios wherein you can have or implement error handlings in different ways. For example, circuit breaker or a loop or batch scope, so on, that we generally used in most of our applications. And we will also share some best practices or some recommendations that you can use in your applications to handle the errors better. Then next we can have the session open for any question and answers, and the final would be the networking sessions, wherein we will have some quizzes and like we always do, and some winners who will be getting prizes or the gift hampers, which will be shared by Supriya. So this will be the overall agenda that we will be covering today. So next, let's go through our organizers. So thanks to the organizers for always setting up these meetings. I know this is not an easy task to do out of your daily day-to-day work, so I would like to really appreciate and thank you, Sandeep, Supriya and Sumit, for reaching out to people and sharing, setting up this forum for discussing and sharing knowledges regarding this technology. So next, something about the speakers. So myself, Sanjana Mishra. So I'm currently working as a technical lead in Accenture. I have overall of 5+ experience in building integration solutions, and I am a certified MuleSoft developer and a platform architect. And over to you, Sajid.
Hello everyone, good afternoon. Myself Sajid. I'm working with Epicero as a senior MuleSoft consultant. Uh, so mostly like I'll be covering the demonstration part. Like once Sanjana covers the initial explanation of all the error handling. That's it. Thank you, Sanjana.
Thank you, Sajid.
Sanjana, I think
Sanjana.
we would like to make some instructions, right, Supriya? So on
Yes,
the
yes.
Q&A session.
Yeah, go ahead, Supriya.
Yeah, so guys, on the Q&A session, we might take few pauses in between the sessions, but we will just request you to post all your questions under the Q&A section. There is a Q&A section beside the general section, so that it will be easy for us to track what all questions have been arising, like throughout the session. And on the quiz, I think Supriya can guide you on the quiz. Yes, Supriya,
Yeah,
go on.
so after the session is end, in the end, like we'll be having a quiz wherein we'll be asking 3-4 questions, and then you have to answer you have to type the answer in the chat itself. Whoever gives the first correct answer for 3 different questions will be selected, and they'll be given a vouchers to attend some training. But it totally depends on when the MuleSoft is offering the training. But it is attended the 3-4 trainings from MuleSoft. They are really good. The another most important thing is you all this we are on the Baby virtual event. So there's a button called leave. So please do not press leave all. Okay, this will cause a very big problem that we all will eventually leave. We have to leave the meeting, or it will get end in the during the session itself. So I request do not click on the button which is leave, and on top of that there is a leave for all. Please do not ever click on that. That's just one very important thing. Apart from this, in the end of the session we'll definitely talk about networking, the new things coming up for MuleSoft. But we are always available on the LinkedIn and our email IDs. If you have anything for next meetup or something, if you would like to be a speaker, or if you suggest some topic to be presented in the upcoming meetings, you can let us know. And also the feedback form is very important for us. That always helps us to improve. So thanks. It's already 55 participants on Saturday morning. I totally understand, and thank you so much for joining. As I said earlier, it is going to be worth it. Please stay with us till the end of the session. Okay, thank you so much, guys. Yeah, Sanjana, you can take it over.
Thanks, Supriya. Thanks, Sumit. Okay. So I think with this, let's start with our journey through the error handling. So first, let's discuss about the error types in Mule. So as you can see, there is a broad classification. So in general, there are two types of errors that can occur in MuleSoft. One is at any component or the level wherein a message processing or a Mule event is involved, and the other is the system generated errors. So these are broadly classified into two hoods, as you can see. The first is the any type classification, and the next is the critical. Now inside critical, as you can see, the fatal, there are two subcategories, which is fatal and overload. Now this can be generally considered as an error called as, let's say, JVM overload, or some fatal error occurred within your applications. Now the most important aspect of these errors are that it cannot be controlled or handled by the developer explicitly. The general behavior of the application would be to stop processing and log the errors. So these type of errors, which come under the hood of critical or a system generated errors, cannot be handled explicitly. In Mule 3 there were provisions wherein you could extend a class or an interface, implement an interface and do these things. But in Mule 4, this is not, I have not yet come across any such scenario. The next classification is the any classification. Now as the name suggests, it has or encompasses all of the generic errors that any component can throw when a Mule event is in process. So as you can see, there are many subcategories involved over here. Just let me open the highlighter. Yeah. Okay. So as you can see, there are many subcategories involved over here. So there is a transformation, which could be classified as any expression or any transformation error. The routing category, which has further subcategories, for example, a composite routing error, or a error in the root of any of the scatter gather, that could be classified under routing hood. And there is connectivity. Now as the name suggests, errors such as retry exhausted or connectivity, HTTP connectivity error, all these can be classified under the connectivity subcategory. Then there is expression error. Then there is security also, like the name suggests, can have sub classifications like HTTP unauthorized, or some SSL error, or some security level error in your component or in your connector. So there is one more important classification, which is regarding unknown. So any of the error that Mule is not able to classify or understand, then for those, the unknown namespace is thrown. So you must have seen across in some of your applications while running, that there is an error known as Mule unknown. So the reason for that is either the component that you are using has not handled those error or classified the error. That is the reason Mule cannot understand that error is, or it is actually some error that the Mule processing is not able to classify, and hence it is mentioned under the unknown hood. So, so this is a general classification. Let's move on to some points. For example, the any type errors, like I said, mentioned earlier, that the any type errors can be handled by the developer within an application, but the critical type errors are something which cannot be handled, because they can have multiple factors, like the resource, or the JVM itself had failed, or the resource was not enough, like a memory overload or some kind of errors. Any type of errors does not include error occurring at the source. Now, but this, what I mean is, like I said, the any type of errors are generally errors wherein a Mule event is involved. So it is everything which is after your component is processing within your flow. So error, the next is error on the source components or system errors. Now what does this mean? Error at the source components means the errors that you have, the errors that have occurred on your source listeners. Maybe you have an SFTP listener, or you have a database connector, or you have an SAP Connect Polar, or anything else. So errors that occur at those source level are classified as a system errors, and since those are system errors, they cannot be handled. But there is something you can always do on such type of errors, are you can always have a reconnection strategy, which we will discuss later in our demo parts, that will be covered. But just for your understanding, so these type of errors cannot be handled, but they can definitely be retried or reconnected to. So yeah, this is the same thing that I just spoke. So and
Just a
unknown.
moment, Sanjana. Uh, there's one question from Mohit, which is, can unknown be a part of critical error?
Can unknown be a part of critical error? So
Critical
I have
error.
not yet. So if you can see, the any type of errors are generally the ones which do not involve source. So the not come across any unknown, which is what I have observed and what I understand is these critical type of errors are generally the if you must have seen, right, in your mule expression, if your expression is getting out of memory, if you have a large data when you are processing a data view, so you
Yes.
must have seen
Yes.
memory out of exception. So those are some
Yeah.
critical type of exception which does not come under unknown hood. So I hope that answers your question, because these are two broad classifications. So the unknown is generally at the component level wherein the source is not involved. So like I
Okay.
said, if your component was not so whenever any mule component is developed, right, either using SDK or any development kit, there is an error handling done at the component levels also. So maybe let's say you have defined a connector and you have not given a proper error handling, so the mule will not understand what error you are trying to throw or what error you are trying to give. So it will just plainly say that it is classified as unknown to me, and so and log the description of the error.
Yes, okay, Sanjana. Mohit, if you still have any question, Mohit is asking, but system error can happen anywhere in the flow.
Yes, the system error can happen anywhere in the flow. Like I said, but the system errors are so first thing about system errors, right, we can classify them. First is the system error is happening at the source, and the second, like you said, the system error did not happen at the source, but something happened, your worker got disconnected, or your memory got your JVM got interrupted in between, or your memory out of memory exception happened. But those will come under critical, right? The mule will understand that this has happened because of a JVM overload, or this has happened due to a memory out of exception, or something like that. Personally, I have not come across any critical error which is throwing a unknown namespace. So you can give us more insight if you have such error. Maybe it will be a good learning for all of us. So Mohit, have you faced any
In
such scenario?
when we will unmute all of the people, we can definitely discuss this case. And not only this forum, but as I told you earlier, we have a lot of forums to discuss such a things. So we can definitely take it. Okay, Mohit, thank you for the question. There was a question from Yash. Sumit, it's still there?
Yeah, he posted, I think, in the general section.
Okay, fair enough. But I don't
Okay,
see
so
it in the Q&A.
how to handle or avoid overload error?
Overload error,
That's
how to handle?
Yeah, that we can come into the later sessions, but I can
Okay.
just give you. So there are certain there are certain aspect to it when you say overload, right? So like one of the example that I gave was memory exception when you're processing a large amount of data weave or a large amount of payload. So in that there is a configuration wherein you can increase the buffer size for your data view expressions. So that is something you can do. But apart from that, if the memory or if the resource allocation is not enough, right, so there is something you will have to definitely scale up your application either vertically or horizontally. So what I would recommend for memory, in case of exceptions related to memory, we should do a thorough analysis, like what is the NFR. Now we are kind of moving through more towards the NFR aspect.
Non-functional
Yeah,
things. Yeah.
but that is a good way to do that, that you first analyze the NFR of your applications, like
Definitely.
what could be the worst case of your application, what could be, the worst or the maximum limit of calls that your application could have, or what is the maximum size of payload that your application could process, and then come to a appropriate threshold according to that.
Yes, yes, yes. As rightly you mentioned, overload is not something which every application is going to face, because most of the things we should be taking care it during the NFR thing only, right? Well,
Correct,
looking at
correct,
the
correct.
number of request and volume and etc. So yeah,
Yes,
that
and there
was
is
the-
always, let's say, if you know that the nature of your application is to process data, let's say maybe in bulk or a high volume of data,
right,
then it
right.
is always good to have a performance testing before
Absolutely.
actually going or productionizing your applications by replicating the resources that are going to be there on production.
Correct, correct, correct. Okay, let's move ahead, Sanjana.
Okay, good. Glad that people are interacting and having questions. Okay,
Yes,
so
yes.
let's come to the next topic, which is a mule error object. So there is a generic structure that the mule follows in case of any error occurs. So these are generally the keys that are present in any of the mule object. The first is a description. So like the name suggests, this is a description regarding the problem, which either you have given in your custom in your custom errors, or by default the component description that your component is giving for a particular type of error. So, for example, an HTTP unauthorized. So the description of that could be error on post so and so URL, HTTP unauthorized. Now, the type. Now, this is a very important key in an error object, because this helps us identify what exactly, or categorize the error. So error type has two things. First, it has a namespace, and then it has an identifier. Now you must have seen now you must have seen something like HTTP. Okay, it is very difficult to type like that, so I would not waste time. So you must have seen something like HTTP colon connection timeout, or HTTP colon gateway timeout, something like that, errors like that, right? So what is that? So the HTTP is defined as the namespace, and the later part, which is connection or gateway timeout or something like that, is defined as an identifier. So this is important in terms when you want to do some error mapping in your customer errors, which we will see in the later cases. So there are predefined set of such namespaces in mule. For example, HTTP, FTP, sale for your Salesforce connector, for your SAP connector, so on and so forth. So this describes the type, which, like I said, which will help you to categorize the problem and perform your necessary action. Now there is a cause, which is again a error or the description of the cause which led to failure. Like you must have seen in the errors tractate, right? There are points which, or the methods you can see, or the classes at which it has failed and the error has propagated and led to the final error. So those everything come under the causes section. The message is an optional mule message regarding the problem. So this is an optional, this may not be present. And the child errors, again, this is an optional. And the child errors may be that inner list of errors, or the inner errors which the component has failed, because of which, like I said, the error got propagated and then finally threw an error, and you can see it in your log. So if there is any child errors involved in that. So for example, over here, scatter gather, right? So scatter gather works in roots. So there could be one root failed, that did not fail. So what that could come under a child error, for example, something like that.
If you could go back to the previous slide, yeah. So we have actually one question from Adreen. So can you mention the use case of a child errors? So do we have any plan? Like, are we going to cover a use case for the child
We
errors?
can, we can see that we have a scatter gather demo. In
Great.
that we'll be seeing what happens when one of the root of
Okay.
the scatter gather
Okay.
fails,
So Adreen, I think we
and
will
how the
cover it
error
at
can
that
be
point.
seen.
Yes, yes, Sanjana, thank you. So Adreen, we will cover that when we are presenting the demo. Then there is Gopal. Yeah, Gopal, we are going to take use cases and explain some of the scenarios. So don't worry, just stay with us. And guys, I will just request to whatever it is, please post in a Q&A session. That becomes easy for us to track. Thank you, Sanjana. Sanjana, one question I have. Okay, so every time if we are suppose we are using these expressions in the form of a logger or maybe transform message, uh,
Hmm.
every time we have to set up some default values.
I didn't get your question. When
No.
you
So,
say
for example,
setting an error,
in some of the error, okay, unfortunately, error dot child errors is not coming. Maybe error dot cause is not coming. But what we do is
hmm.
we try to keep our logger message, our transform message as generic as possible. At that time, we are not going to get this value because this value is either null or this maybe doesn't come only. So
Hmm.
it is recommended to set the default value always.
No, not really. So it depends. First question is, are you really using this child error? If yes, then definitely rather than giving a null to the consumer application, right? It is always good to have some default value that there are no
Yes.
child errors, something like that.
Right. Right. Fair enough. Okay, Sanjana, let's go ahead.
Okay. Uh, Great. So next, let's come to the level of error handlers. Like I said, at what levels within your application you can define and you can define or have error handling. So there are three types of flows as we know in MuleSoft. One is the public flow, the private flow, and the sub flow. Now, when we the first snippet that you can see is for the first snippet that you can see is for a public flow wherein we have a source listener, we have a logger component, and a validation component. Now, over here you can see there is the error handling component at the flow level. So these are all termed as a flow level error handler. Why? Because whatever error occurs within this flow, you are defining the handling of those errors inside the flow itself. So but also one thing to note over here that is that the scope of this error handler will remain for this scope or for this flow only unless and until you have defined some flow reference, okay, which is not having any error handler. We will also see those scenarios in our demo shortly, but this is a good point to note that the scope of these error handlers will be for the particular flows in which they have defined. Now, this is an example of a private flow wherein you are not having any source, but you are having the outbound components. Now, over here also you have the feasibility of defining an error component over here. And again, the scope of these error handler are also with respect to the components or to the processing defined in this particular flow. The next is a subflow. Now the subflow does not have any error handling component. You cannot define any error handler on your subflow. So the next question is how you can handle an error in the subflow. So definitely, as you can see, right, the subflow does not have any source from wherein it can be invoked of its own, right? Like a private flow, like a public flow has a source. In this error handler, you can invoke it via a public flow, but the subflow does not have any means of starting its application. So definitely, it is going to be referred from somewhere. We let's call it a parent flow. So from there, that parent flow is where you can, which will replicate the nature of this error handling in this subflow. So just to make it more easier, an example, this subflow is being called by this public flow. So whatever error happens in this subflow will be either error handler or error handler. We will come to such scenarios shortly. So next, let's move on to the processor level. So when I say processor level, it is at the I'm saying at the component level or at the processor outbound component level. So over here, you can always define a try scope or a try block in your application and have a try catch mechanism. Like in Java, we have the try catch mechanism. The similar way it will work over here. That inside your and again the scope of this handler will be what for all the components which are inside the try scope only. So you can define an error handler at the component level also. For example, a business use case like over here itself, you can see, right? This is a database connector. So I want to catch and perform certain actions like maybe raise an incident or raise a ticket or send an email notification when any error occurs over here. Then this can be wrapped inside a try scope. But one more thing is that I don't want the remaining execution also to fail. So what I can do is I can wrap it inside a try scope and give an on error component over here. Uh, which will do the necessary processing and move forward. So this is not only limited to any database. You can also have maybe an HTTP connector or an SFTP connector or a validation component which you want to catch and perform certain actions. So this can happen at the processor level using a try block. Next is at the
Sanjana,
global level.
like before you start a new topic, on topic only, there are two questions from Adrian. There is it a difference between subflow with a try block and a private flow? Do they work the same in terms of error handling?
Subflow with a try block.
Subflow with a try block and a private flow.
Okay, so yeah, so Adrian, just to answer your question, so let's say if you're having this publish component inside a try block and you're catching and performing certain actions, and then you are having an error handling over here, so it will behave in the same manner, but the only difference is that what type of errors you are having. So let's say you have put this inside a try scope and you are handling only publish related errors, so it will handle only publish related errors for that. And if you're, it again also depends on the what component you're using, which we'll see further. Either you're using a continue component or propagate component, which will go here. But to answer your question, yes, the nature, you can nature, you either have a try block over here. The only difference will be that then the subflow, if you're giving a propagate, then the subflow will throw the error to the parent. If not, then it will be just handled here, and then your parent flow execution can continue.
All right. There is one more. Why we can't have try catch in subflow to handle in subflow? This is from Mohit Sharma.
Yeah, you can you can
We can
have
have
that.
try catch. Yeah, Mohit. If we handle certain type with try and it doesn't cover the error produced, will it be
Then it
handled
will
by
be,
a global handler?
yeah. So these are some error handling scenarios. So Sumit, could you repeat the question again?
Yeah. If we handle certain type with try catch and it doesn't cover the error produced, will it be handled by the global handler?
Yeah, so now that depends. So a question I will ask you is, are you defining or are you catching that error in any of your parent flow, which is calling the subflow?
He's saying yes.
Yeah, so it will go to the, it will be handled by the parent flow, right? If it is an on error propagate. So and then after that, let's say if you say no and you say, you are saying that no, I have not handled this error in my parent flow, then it can be handled either by the global error handler if you have defined one, or by the mule's error handler, default mule error handler. That also we will see in the next slide.
All right, Sanjana. Yeah, let's continue. Thank you.
Okay, so the next is at the global level. Just give me. So at the global level, like we just discussed, so in case I can give you a scenario wherein you want your complete application is handling any error in a same way. Okay, let's say you want your application has thrown any, let it be connectivity related error or an expression related error or any type of error, and you want to handle in a similar way. That is, you want to just generate a ServiceNow incident. So instead of having your error handler at every component or having a try block at every connector level, what you can do is you can always define a global error handler which will act as an error handler in case any error happens in your flow or in your application. So this will be executed. So this is kind of a global error handler, and in case there is any error which also you have not catched, and if in this global error handler is listening to all types of error, then again like we just discussed the scenario which was asked by Mohit, I believe. So again it will be handled over here. The next and the final one is the default error handler. So let's say in your application there is nowhere that you are doing the error handling. You're leaving everything up to the mule to handle the errors or perform the processing. So the default nature of a mule error handler is on error propagate, is to log the errors and to propagate the error. So when I say propagate the error, it that means it will throw the error, keep throwing the error till the final block or the final component has reached. So, we will see this one also in our demo next. So but yeah, just to remember, a heads up is that the default error handler, the nature of that is to propagate the error. So if there is any error, any namespace, for example, HTTP connectivity, which you have not handled either at any of the levels, either at the flow level or either at the processor level or either at the global level. So that error will be treated as will be treated or governed by the default error handler, which is to propagate and log the error. So
We cover
the
this. Yeah, just a second, Sanjana. Sorry to interrupt you. What is the use of HA profile in global error handler? Question from Yash. Have we covered this? No, right?
No, this is not. But I have not, to be honest, I have not even used this profile. But from my understanding, this is for high availability profile. So this could be in terms of when you're having an on-premise development or something, deployment or
Mm-hmm.
something like that. I personally have not used it on the Cloud Hub environment yet. But we can explore and we can discuss maybe when we come to demo.
Yes, anybody who has idea on this, which is Yash's question. Yeah, he's saying even I have not used this one. We understand. So anybody
Don't worry,
has
we can
a
explore it.
clarity, we can definitely discuss maybe end of the session. Sandhya is saying, Sanjana, can you explain about try catch? Sanjana, just
Yeah,
brief
sure.
maybe about try catch. Yeah.
So rather than briefing, Supriya, I would rather discuss it in the demo, which we are going to shortly
Yes,
type in. Is it
yes,
fine,
yes,
Sandhya?
correct. Sandhya, I hope this is fine for you. In demo, we can explore it more nicely. And still, if you have a questions, you can connect and ask. Okay, Sanjana, let's go ahead.
Okay, great. Now let's come to the component. That is, what are the out of box component that Mules provide for you to handle errors in your application. So first is the on error propagate error handler. So as the name suggests, what it will do is it will perform certain actions and then it will throw or it will propagate the error to the caller or to the flow, to the parent flow which has invoked this flow. So for an example, let's go to our demo. Are you able to see the studio? Hello?
Sanjana, we can see.
So now we can see.
Okay. Just give me a moment. I'll just close and restart the studio. Just give me 2 minutes.
Yes, Sanjana. No issues.
Meanwhile, if there are any questions, I think
You guys can ask
we can
questions. Yes,
discuss it.
correct. Guys, just spare us maybe 1 minute. She'll be back.
share my screen. Let me know once it is visible.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. So yeah, like I was saying, the default error handler. So this is a classic case of default error handler. There is a flow, and I have not defined any error handler over here in this flow. Neither I have any global error handler. So if any error occurs in this validation component, it will be governed by the mule error handler, which is to log and propagate the error. Let's come to the on error propagate one. Okay, now over here we have two flows. One is a public flow, another is a private flow. So over here there is a listener, a logger component. There is a validation component to check if the payload that I'm receiving is a number or not. And then I'm calling a flow reference, which is this child flow. From the parent flow, I'm invoking the child flow. And again, in the child flow, there is a validation component which is checking if the some key inside the payload is a blank string or not. If it is a blank string, it will throw an error. So if I open the validation component, so if you can see, it will check that the string is not blank. If it is blank, then the message or the error message thrown will be that the value is a blank string. Okay. Now at both of these level, I have defined an error handler, which is capturing all the types of errors. So if you can see, the type over here is any. That means whatever comes inside the hood of this any will be handled by this error handler. So I'm simply just logging this error, saying that the error propagated from the child flow, propagated because I'm using a propagate on error propagate component. So you can see there are 4 components over here. The one which we are discussing right now is the on error propagate. And in the parent flow as well, I have defined a handler again, which is an on error propagate for all type, for catching any type of error. And over here, it is just a log that error propagate from the parent flow. Now, let us go through some trial and error to see what happens. So now over here, the listener is to do on error propagate like this. So over here, this is a, like we can say, a happy path. The value is number and this is also number. So it is giving me an okay 200 because everything was good. Okay. Now let's do some tweaking. Okay. Let's put this as a string. Now this ideally this is number should fail. Okay, then what will be the nature of processing is it will be handled because I have defined an error handler propagator, but the nature of that is to propagate the error, to throw the error to the calling system. So if you can see, I get a 500 server error and the value and the message is that value is not an integer. Now this is the same value that I have defined in my error message. So this error message is getting propagated over here. So wherever error occurs, the execution stopped. It went to the error handler, locked the message, and then since it is a propagate, it throws an error, 500 server error, to the calling system. In our system, my calling system is a Postman, so it is returning that error. And if you can see, the log is error propagated from the parent flow. Now let's try to create some error in the child flow. String as blank. So now what you can see is 500 server error, value is blank. Now what happened? What processing steps happened into the application? So if you can see in the log, okay, this is the error, value is a blank string. Then what happened? Error propagated from child flow, then error propagated from parent flow. So the error from the child got propagated over here to this flow. Then there was an error handler in the parent flow. which was on error propagate. So this error got handler got executed, and the 500 response was thrown back to the postman. Now let's try to generate error in both the components. So any cases, what will happen? So over here, the parent flow is also going to fail, and the child flow is also going to fail. So any guesses what will happen?
Yeah, Sanjana, people are muted. They are not allowed to speak.
Okay.
So someone has messaged
Okay.
first error.
Okay. Yeah,
Child
that's
won't execute.
correct.
Yep.
Correct. Absolutely correct. Because the child will not execute, because like I said, the processing will stop. It will go to the error handler, and the error response will be returned to the listener. So this is how an on error propagate would work. Now let's move on to the next component, which is an on error continue component. Now, as the name suggests, it will continue on error. Simple. So when any error occurs, it will not throw that error, it will handle that error, it will do whatever processing you have defined in the component, and then the flow execution will continue. Now but the important part over here to note, when I say the flow will continue to execute, is that the flow the processing will continue but not from the remaining of the flow. So let's see what I am meaning by that. So you can see again there are two flow. One is the parent flow, another is a child flow. Now there are two error handling components over here, and both are defined as on error continue only. And in that, I'm simply logging the error, and again the I'm catching all types of error that can happen. Is in both the cases is any. Okay. So now let's see. Now let's try to fill the parent. Okay. So over here also now you can say 200. Okay. Now why is that? Because that is what exactly the on error component is for. So if you see in the console, the logging, which is error handler in parent flow, so you can see that the error handler in parent flow is there. That means it went to this execution, but the nature of the handler is to continue processing. It did not. It will not go to the flow reference. So what will happen is the execution will definitely stop, but and go to any of the new processing. For example, that we'll see in the child flow. So the nature of that is to not propagate error, and that is the reason you are seeing a 200 OK response over here rather than a 500 server error. So it handled the error. The processing of this flow will stop, but a success response will go to the caller. So that is why it is a 200 response. Now let's try to do some error in the child flow and see what happens. Again, there is a 200 OK response. Now let's see the flow processing, or what steps it followed. So you can see over here error handler handled with the error handled with the child flow. There is a value is a blank string, but there is no log for error handler in the parent flow. Why? Because the execution went to the parent flow, but it did not treat it as an error. Okay, the error was suppressed over here. On error continue. So the blank string was found. It went into the on error continue. It logged this thing, and then after that, it returned the execution back to the parent flow, but asking it not to treat this as an error, to treat it as a success, and that is why it did not go to the error handling component of the parent flow. And the response back to the listener was 200 OK. Now, let me again see. Again, we'll take the scenario wherein both the components are failing. So I know you guys will not be able to speak. So let's see what will happen over here. So again 200 response back, but let's see what is the execution flow. Okay. So we can see the value is not an integer, and the only error handler is error handled in the parent flow. So like I said, the execution of this flow will stop, but the final output from this flow will be treated as a success. I hope I'm clear. Any questions on this one?
Sanjana, we don't see any new questions coming in. So yeah, you can continue.
So next is the raise error component. Now this is a very good or a helpful component when you have a certain business processing. Like for example, on certain scenarios from your payload, you need to treat it as an error. So for example, over here in this use case, what I have tried to mimic is a business scenario wherein a user is giving an amount. Okay, let's say maybe his credit card amount, he's trying to make some payment, and his credit card amount is exceeded from what he has been allocated. So over here in such scenarios, my what my requirement is to raise an error, or let's say to raise incident, or to raise a service now, or anything like that, and then to basically to treat this as an error, and to stop the processing. So that is where the raise error component comes into picture. So if you can see, this flow is having a listener, then there is a logger, and over here there is a choice condition. This choice condition will check if the amount is greater than 500. If the amount is greater than 500, then it will raise an error. Now what I am doing over here, I'm explicitly defining an error type, saying that the custom amount is exceeded. I have not given any description, which we can give over here to that error description, and the default use case is a logger that the amount is accepted. Okay. So let's see what. And also one important thing to notice, I have not defined. So let's see what will happen. So let's first run a happy scenario that the amount is all good. So there is a log over here. Let me just clear this. So there is a log that the amount is accepted. Let's go. Now there is an 500 server error, and if you see, the message is very ambiguous. An error occurred. What error occurred? Where occurred? Nothing like that. Now why so? The reason is because, like I explained earlier, is the default error handler. So I have not given over here any handling exception handling mechanism or anything. So whenever I'm raising an error over here, it is being governed by the Mule's default error handler, whose nature is to log the errors, which you can see the error is already logged, and to propagate. Since the error is getting propagated, I'm getting a 500 server error, and this is an ambiguous message which is coming from the default handler itself. And the next flow, if you see over here, I have given an on error propagate handler. I am explicitly handling the error, doing a logging, and then setting a payload over here. And over here in the raise error also, I have given a description that the amount is exceeded, then the allowed capacity. So over here, because the amount is not exceeded, what happens? If the amount is exceeded, then the allowed capacity. That, okay, there is a spelling mistake. Please ignore it. So over here, yeah. So this is the description that you are getting in the error, and also you're getting a 500 server error. But the error thrown from here is something which we have given it for the processing. So that is why you can see a difference in the message. Over here is the message which we have given, and over here is the default handler message. And now if you want to suppress that error, that is, if you want to not not send an error response, just log it and do some processing. Then what you can have is, you can have an on error handler component, on error continue component over here. And so what will happen with all this on error continue is that it will instead of returning 500, it will do the same thing, but it will just give you a 200 response back. So this is taking some time to build. So meanwhile, any questions?
No, Sanjana.
Application is started. Now the same, if we see, you can see 200 error response and the error message. Now see, the error message has changed. Why it has changed? Now this is propagating error as the amount exceeded in the. Now what response I'm getting back is the response that I'm setting as a payload. And this is very important to note that the reason for this is behind this listener configuration. So if you see in the response section, the response in case of a successful processing is the payload, and the response in case if an error occurs is the error dot description. And that is the reason in the on error continue case you're getting this as a response, and in the on error propagate you are getting this as a response. Okay, so these are certain few components. Now the remaining components will be covered by Sajid. So yeah, Sajid,
Yeah, thanks,
just
Sanjana.
go ahead. I'll just stop processing, stop sharing.
Let me know if you're able to see my screen. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah,
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah. So I'll be continuing from here. So the next, we already covered this part, but just to add some more points to the triscopes, basically, Triscope plays a very important role. Like if you want to isolate the error at the processor level. So if you are having any kind of different kind of DB operation or as such, so we can wrap that particular connector within the Triscope, and we can include as much possible error handlers, and we can customize the error handling. So to handle the errors at the connector level, we can use a Triscope. So the advantage of using Triscope, like if you want to enable transactions, for example, if we are in a real-time scenario, if we are inserting data into the database, for example, we have a person information, personal information, his contact information and address information, and they reside in different tables. So we don't want the partial DB operation. We want either all the data is inserted into database successfully, or nothing is inserted. So in that case, we can use try catch, and at the Triscope level, we can enable the transactions. And to enable the transaction, we should be always using on error propagate along with the Triscope. So that is one of the use case. Let me go to the studio and show you the configuration. So the if we are using any Triscope within the flow, uh, so if any issue occurs at the component level, and we are using on error continue. So if there is any further processors, so if you are having on error continue, then those processes will be executed. And if you are using like on error propagate, the error will like the further processes won't be executed, and the error will be propagated to the parent flow or the calling flow, or at the listener level if parent flow. And the other scenarios like to which I was talking about to enable a transaction. So at the triscope level, we have an option of enabling the transaction. We can select the all, and if you want the transaction to be like if you don't want a partial transaction, so we can always enable the transaction. And in the error handling, we'll have to enable like we'll have to use on error propagate instead of on error continue. So basically, the error handling which we do at the application level or at the flow level is to gracefully terminate the application. Like it won't mitigate the issue, but it will be like handle the error gracefully, and we can log those errors stacked-wise, and we can raise some alerts, like we can do Splunk logging, and we can send some email notification to the active end user. So for that purpose, we have like suppose we are using a database connector, like one of the Oracle DB is down, so we can wrap that DB operation within a triscope, and within the error handler we can drop an alert the DB admin. We can have some alert configured within the error handler, so that as soon as the DB team receives that alert, they can like why the database server is down. So this is one of the like where we can use triscope. Uh, the second, move on to the custom error types. So suppose like now we are mostly we work on the API-led connectivity. So where we have like process API, experience API, and system APIs. Like process API is coming multiple end systems, multiple system API. We have multiple REST calls. So like to differentiate, like we have multiple REST calls, like we are calling for example person system API, organization system API, but we are getting some connectivity issue from this person system API. So to differentiate the error between whether the error is originating from the person system API or whether the error is originating from the organization system API, so in the outbound connector we have the like error mapping like we can map the connectivity error, and we can map the uh, custom error, like we can define our own namespace. So for example, let me go to the studio. So for example, in this use case, like like I'm calling multiple systems, like I have one MDM system and one CRM system. So I have different based on the destination, I'll be calling the different endpoints. But there might be a possibility like one of the system is down. So in the requester, we have an option of error mapping. So where we can map our custom error message, like if you don't for example, if you don't have this custom error mapping, the default like if there is any connectivity issue, so it will be like HTTP internal. It will be difficult to which system is down, whether MDM system is throwing that error, the CRM system is throwing that error. It will be difficult to figure out which system has thrown the error. So for that we have an option of error mapping. So like possible errors we can face, and so we can select those error, and we can do a custom error mapping over here. So while just make sure, like when we do a custom error mapping, the namespace should be a unique one, not the one which Mule already has. Like for example, we cannot use like HTTP internal server error, because those are like predefined. So we cannot use those predefined namespace. We should have some custom namespace according to our use case. And according we can have a error handler, and we can based on the our custom error type, we can handle those exception, and we can perform the necessary action. Let me just run this demo POC. So mostly we have this custom error of the outbound connectors. Okay, so like as soon as the request arrives, and suppose for now like the MDM system is down, for example, so it will have a custom error, would have thrown like HTTP connectivity or HTTP internal server error. So instead of that, because as we have multiple systems, so I have some error mapping. So now it is, if you see now it is throwing the custom error type like MDM internal server down. So accordingly, the error will be propagated to the specific error handler, because we may have different kind of error handling strategy for different end system. So in such cases, custom error mapping come into the picture. So over here, like the message is propagated to the like MDM internal server error handler. So if there is like we can have some alerts and notification or logging of error stack trace. Something like for CRM, it may be different. Like we have different recipients to alert. So that's why we have a separate error handler for separate end system. Moving on to the next part, the raise error. I guess it's already covered. Like Sanjana already covered this topic. Yeah. So this is again a raise error come under custom error type, where we can based on the some business validation business rule. Error. Again, we need to make sure the type is not the predefined. It should be a custom type, because we are defining the suppose some person is trying to update some information into the portal. So we are checking what is his role. So if he's not authorized, we are raising a custom error message like employee not authorized. So we cannot have HTTP or something, because those are predefined. We should be having custom namespace, and the description is always it will be a string message whatever we give. So we can't have any expression or something like who is like we cannot have any data weave expression. So this, but the string message which whatever we mention over here will be returned back to the user. Now one of the main topic, circuit breaker implementation. So like we have used Anypoint MQ for the circuit breaker, because in this Mule provides like Mule Anypoint MQ connector has the capability of circuit breaker implementation. So mostly we should be using circuit breaker in case to handle the downtime of a particular. For example, we have we have a flow. Like we are consuming a message from the Anypoint MQ, and we are pushing the message to the Salesforce. So suppose the Salesforce is down, or we have some connectivity issue or timeout issue. So in such cases, to handle those downtime, and to avoid like to avoid triggering pushing the message again, all the message to the Salesforce, and again getting those errors and handling it, we can implement circuit breaker. So how circuit breaker works is at the start the circuit will be closed, so the message will be consumed from the subscriber. So and the message will be consumed from the the subscriber, from the subscriber, and we will try to process the message to the end system. And suppose the end system is down, so it will fail, we will get some error like connectivity or timeout error. So we need to send some set some threshold while configuring the set. We need to configure some threshold. So threshold is like if the same error occurs for this number n number of times, we can open the circuit. So once we open the circuit, once the circuit is open, that period of time, and after that period of time, the circuit will again close, and it will try to process the message. So let me show you the configuration So for example, if you have any pending queue at this source, so we have an option of configuring the what all errors we want to handle as a part of circuit breaker. So for example, we have some rest call within the flow, and that rest call is failing continuously. So I have set threshold as 3. So if we encounter this error, like when a particular message is retrieved from the queue, and we see encounter this message, so we need to be sure, like we are setting the acknowledgement mode as auto or manual, because if we set immediate, the message will be deleted as soon as it is retrieved. So we need to acknowledgement mode to auto, because if we set auto, then like when the message is processed successfully, then only the message will be deleted from the and else we can have manual. So in case of manual, like we'll have to send manual acknowledgement ACK or NACK. Accordingly, the message will be removed from the inbound queue. So that is one thing while configuring the circuit breaker. So suppose if you encounter this issue 3 times, so the circuit will open, and it will stop processing the message. So the message will be pushed back to the queue, and it will stop processing the message. We can configure this trip timeout, like if you want to uh, uh, like suppose there is like very rare downtime, so we can usually downtime doesn't occur, like for example for that particular end system usually there is no downtime. So we can configure like some couple of minutes, 5 minutes we can configure, and after that time we can retry again, so that like by that time the system may be up, so we can process those messages. So
So
this is
just to add to Sajid's point, that is the reason we would recommend these configurations to be externalized either in a property file or anything. So you can govern what trip time you want or what is the downtime your system has asked you to keep, something like that.
yeah. So apart from this, like we can have a circuit breaker for the rest calls, which like suppose we have a listener instead, because in the anypoint subscriber we have the inbuilt circuit breaker configuration, but at the global level also we can define, in the global configurations also we can define the circuit breaker, and these configurations we can use like for example, like I have gone through one of the articles. So suppose we have a rest calls, and suppose we have listener at the source, we don't have a any queue. So how to enable circuit breaker? So there is one like filter module which we need to include. uh, Actually I tried downloading that module, but I was facing some Maven issue. But just for your information, like we have a filter module which we can drag and drop before the requester, and before the requester we can drag and drop, and the global circuit configuration which we have configured. So under like in that filter module we have a option of selecting that circuit configuration. So if any issue occurs at the requester level, and if the threshold is breached, so the next time, like the circuit will open, and no request will be forwarded to requester until the circuit is closed. So and one more thing, like whatever configurations we are like configuring this error threshold, error trip timeout, and all. So these are like stored in persistent object store. Like in the filter module, we can see that we have a object store option, like, and these values are stored as a part of in the persistent object store.
There are a couple of questions. If you don't mind, I will take it up. Is it compatible only with MQ? I think Sajid already answered. Is it compatible? Like we can
No,
have
no, it
circuit
is.
breaker for
Yeah.
HTTP.
Yeah, we can have like we can have a filter module, like that's why if you see at the global level we have an option to create a global circuit breaker configuration. So we don't have inbuilt function within the HTTP requester to configure it, include filter module, and in the filter module we can use that configuration. So by that way, circuit breaking for rest call as well.
Okay, so there is one more
If you,
from with Sharma. Is there a back pressure also part of this implementation?
back pressure as a part of this implementation. So of the back pressure, because we are setting a threshold, right, and we are setting a trip out time. So irrespective a number of messages, the messages will still be coming in the queue. We can't stop messages to come like to be published to this queue, but our flow won't pick up those messages because it will wait for that circuit, like for the trip timeout, like circuit to be closed. Once the circuit is closed, after that only we can process the message. So the message will still continue coming. If we have a HTTP listener, uh, and if you have if you don't have this any point MQ, instead of that we have listener. So the message will come till the filter module, but it won't go to the um, requester. That we are not unnecessarily calling the system which is already down. So we cannot handle back pressure, like the message will still continue coming, but in case of any pandemic queue, the messages will continue piling up in the queue, and once the circuit is closed, after that only we'll start the processing.
All right, Sajid. I think there is no further question. We can continue.
Okay, so moving on to the next part. Yeah, I already covered this circuit breaker implementation. So yeah, so if we are using circuit breaker in any point MQ, we need to be sure, like we are using auto acknowledgement, and we are using on error propagate. If you use on error continue, the message won't be pushed. It will like it will send a success status code. Then there won't be breach and it won't open. So it is recommended, like we use on error propagate, and we use auto acknowledgement. Okay. So the next important topic is Cat-together router. So like we usually, like in our day-to-day we use Cat-together for parallel implementation. So again, there are like we can have roots within the Cat-together. So if any one of the root fails in this Cat-together, so it won't impact other roots to complete its execution. The other roots will still continue its processing. So like there are a couple of things, like there are two ways in which we can handle the errors at this Cat-together level. So if you don't, like if you are handling error at the flow level, for example, in this snippet, if you can see there is a Cat-together, there is a two routes. So if there is any failure in one of the routes and we don't have any kind of error handler, we just have a flow level error handler. So it will the error will be propagated to the this on error, like to the flow level error handler, and it will throw the mule composite routing error. And the other option is we can use try catch at a root level itself. Suppose like for example, we are inserting some data, some data into the database, and we can wrap that DB connector within the try scope. So the difference is between the using triscope and using the flow level error handler is, if you use triscope, so if there is any if there is any beyond this Cat-together, so those will be executed. So like if you are not dependent upon the result set of Cat-together, like if you are doing some backup job, like if you're just dumping some data into some third party system, and if there is any issue with the while inserting that data into, that shouldn't stop our processing, then we can go with triscope. We can wrap the triscope with like for that particular route. uh, it's not necessarily like all the components should be wrapped within the triscope. We can the component or the processor to wrap that component within triscope. So the difference between this mule composite error, so in this case we won't get mule composite error. like it will the error will be handled at the root level itself, and if there is any processing, else we will get the result, like if there is no further processor beyond this scatter gather, uh, it will send the composite result set, and in that result set we'll have the status of each route, like a success route and failed route. Let me show you one of the demo for the same. Okay. So basically, this is we are handling scatter gather error at the flow level. We are not doing any error handling at the root level. So basically, as it is a parallel processing, if we don't do a proper error handling for scatter gather, then it will be very difficult to figure out which route has failed and what was the exception stack trace, what caused the failure. So to get a proper error stack trace and inform the proper raise a proper alert, we need to have a scatter like error handling for scatter gather. Okay. So we have initialized the payload. So yeah. So this the second route has failed. Like it is checking whether the payload is null, but the payload is not null. So this is just a example scenario. Like so, if one of the route fails, if you can see the other route is not impacted, it is still continuing its process. And once the all the routes have completed their execution, Mule will raise a composite error. So if you see, Mule has thrown a Mule composite error, and within this Mule composite error, we'll have details of both success as well as failure routes. We can check in the logs. So yeah, so if you see we have the message for the failure route, and even for the success also we have the message whatever was the last payload. Yeah, and the results this is the route 0 which was successfully completed. We can see the last payload. Yeah, we can customize this error response. So, this is a whole Mule composite error object. So we can see like we can in the error handler, like we can filter out the failed routes, and we can capture the error stackers, and we can do a proper logging and alert the respective team. So this is one of the scenario for Mule composite error, and the other scenario is if we have try catch at the root level. Okay. Let me trigger that. So we see like there is a failure, there is some exception in the route 0 in the first route. So as we have a try scope, okay, as we have try scope, the error is like taken care at the um, root level itself. And if you see, we are not getting any composite error because both the routes completed its execution like successful execution. So even after scatter gather, like you see, I had a processor, so which got executed because the payload which we are seeing on the screen uh, is after scatter gather. So even if there is any issue or any error in this scatter gather, and if we want to execute some processor after that, so we can have a try scope for each route, and we can handle the exception accordingly. Moving on to the next scenario is for loop. So, for example, like for usually for loop, like if you have a collection and we are processing that collection, and we don't want for example, I have a list of records which I want to send to some end system. So there might be a scenario. One of the record in that collection is invalid. So in the for loop, there might be some transformation or some get calls uh, which may fail. So to avoid if you're not doing any proper error handling, that one due to that one record, the execution will stop and other records won't continue its processing. So it's always recommended, like if it is a like very critical application, we can have a try scope within the for each, so that like due to the one record which is invalid, the other record like the processing of other records shouldn't be stopped. And we should be using on error continue, because if you use on error propagate, the error will be propagated. Like the this combination should be used, like try scope with on error continue. So like in my project, like in one of the scenario, like we are syncing multiples, like we have one for example, we have Oscar system, and we are syncing the data with other system like MDM, CRM, and CCIS. So we are getting some person data, organization data. So within the for each, we get a list of a collection of records from the Oscar, and we want to send those. So it may have a person information, it may have organization, it may have the relationship information. So I'll as it is a for a loop, I'll be processing those that collection sequentially. So, for example, I'm doing some REST call within the for loop, and to retrieve the latest information for that particular person, because that person might be updated in the database. So that REST call is like that DB call or the REST call is failing within the for loop. So it shouldn't stop the processing of other records which are lined up in that collection. So there is a high probability, high chances of failure while processing a collection. So it's always recommended we should use Triscope with on error continue. So let me show you one of the use case.
Sajid, before that, there are some questions that we can take it up. There is one question from Vishal. How do you handle errors in parallel for each? Is it the same like we do in Scattergather?
Yeah, we can handle. No, it's not same, because parallel for each like is like multi-threaded. So for example, even if you don't handle the error, it won't impact other records. Like it will still process all the records. The advantage of having error handling in parallel for each is to capture the proper error stack trace, because uh, as the name suggests, it will be parallelly processing all the records, like whatever configuration we have given. So whatever collection we are getting, so it will be processing it parallelly. So it is a kind of like similar to scattergather, like it will be processing parallelly. So if one record there is a failure while processing one record, it won't impact other records. It will still continue processing other records, but to capture the proper error stack trace, like what caused the failure for that particular record, we need to have error handling.
Okay, there's one more question. What if we have on error propagate in try catch in Scattergather? Does the error still catch on flow levels after Scattergather completes?
Yes, like if you have a like in this category, if you have a try scope with on error propagate, propagate is nothing but we are rethrowing the error. So the error will be thrown at the scattergather level, and scattergather will propagate that error to the flow level. It will be propagated.
All right. And one last question. Uh, what error does the parallel for each return? Like Scattergather returns composite error, right? So
Yeah,
what is that parallel for each return?
yeah, like parallel for each will also return like if we don't have any like if you don't have any specific try scope to handle, then again it will return as a composite error. Yeah, I'll give the demo. I have one POC for that as well. I'll demo it
All
out.
right.
Okay. For example, let's execute this.
If the error is occurring in subflow, then will it throw to main flow? Let's take this last question.
Yeah, like if we don't like if we don't have any error handler, like in the subflow, basically we don't have any error handler. Basically, we can use triscope to and if we are using triscope and if we are using on error continue, then the error won't be propagated to the parent flow or the calling flow as we are returning success status. If we are having a combination of triscope plus on error propagate, then the error will be propagated to the calling flow.
Just, yeah, let's continue.
Um, let this application start. So you can see like within the for each, I have a try scope and all the processors whatever execution we have uh, within the for each, we are wrapping that all the processors within the try scope and we have on error continue. So irrespective of like if one like we have the list of data, for example, we have a list of data. So if any one of the record is invalid and it fails, but still other records or other data will be processed, and the processors after the for each will also process because we are handling the exception at the uh, record level using on error continue. Okay. Okay, the first salary, sorry, the first record itself got failed. So basically, if we don't have this triscope, it won't continue processing other records. It will basically propagate the error to the for each, and then it will propagate to the like if we have any error handler at the flow level, and it will stop processing. But as we have triscope within the for each, we can see. The error got propagated to the error handler, and as we have on error continue, so it will still continue processing the other records present in that list. Okay, so basically we can using the triscope, we can for that particular record either we can push it into the dead letter queue for reprocessing, or we can log the message to the NPN just to like once the application execution is completed, if operations team or support team wants to verify the data why it got failed or wants to reprocess the data, so within the on error continue we can keep pushing those message to some dead letter queue or some database as per the requirement, and we can even raise some alerts or something. Second scenario is for parallel for each. Again, the implementation is same. The design is almost same. If you see, we have a triscope along with the on error continue. Okay. So the an issue occurred while processing one of the records. The that particular record we see it went into the error handler because it is happening like you can consider it as a scatter gather, like each record is being processed on different threads. So irrespective So to answer your question, like we get a similar kind of composite error, like after in parallel for each. So if you see this first record was successfully processed, for second record we encountered this issue. So we get a composite result set which has which all records were successfully processed, and which what is the failure for some of the records. So the advantage of having error handling is we can push those messages to some DLQ, and we can reprocess it. We can rectify the data. We can correct the data, and we can re-trigger those data. So yeah, that is the advantage of having a triscope like within the for each. So the next real like real-time scenario, like in most of us might have worked on batch processing. So usually in batch processing we have huge amount of data, like huge load. Like usually we use batch processing to sync up different end systems. Like for example, from on-premise system to some cloud-based system, like from NetSuite to Salesforce, from like we might have some file puller, like we can have some file puller at the source. We need to process that huge file which has like lakhs of records to some third-party system. So like there are three different options to handle the error uh, like in batch processing. So basically we can see finish processing, it is the default strategy. So at the like we have a configuration at the batch job level, like what is the max threshold. Like if there is a file with lakhs of records, and suppose 90% of the record is uh, invalid, so there is no point in processing that huge file. So we can set up some threshold, like if more than 30,000 record, like more than 10,000 record is fails, we will stop the processing, and we will we will stop the batch job, and we will inform the source system, or we can alert the we can share the statistics to respective team. Continue processing is like we still like will still continue processing all the records coming as an input or the collection or in the file, and we can have a like we can like at the step level, like in a batch job consists of multiple steps. So we can have a separate step where we can just like at the end of the batch job, we can have one step where we can accept failed records, like the records which failed in the initial step. We can like that step is just for accepting failed records, and we can push the messages to some dead letter queue, some DB, and we can reprocess that data after correcting. Like for example, we have a file, but in that file for like most of the records we are getting special character or garbage character, like something special character is kind of, due to which most of the record is failing due to that particular special character. So we can push the message to the some anypoint and uh, so that the data will be rectified, data will be properly modified, and we can reprocess that particular file. So we need to use the accept, like there is a accept express configuration at the batch step level, so we can use that to continue uh, to continue and the last one is like continue processing until threshold reached. So yeah, like we can configure the threshold at the batch job level, and for this default processing is like let me show you the POC. It will be easier for me to explain. Okay. So for example, like at the batch job level, we have different configurations like max failed records. So whatever, this is nothing but the threshold we can configure over here. So if we have records, like if you have like more than two records failed, while processing that transaction, the batch job will start, and it will stop, and it will go to the on complete phase. If we configure it as -1, that means n number, like irrespective how many error, like how many records fails, it will still process all the records coming as a part of input to the batch job. In that case, we can configure a max failed record as -1, and we can have a step, like one of the step where we can have accept policy as only failure. So we will process all the records, and all the failed can capture using one of the step. So this is one of the so we have covered two scenarios, um, threshold one and continue processing. And if we don't define anything, so this is nothing but the default processing strategy, default strategy of batch job. So what if, batch job, suppose we have lakhs of records. So lakhs of records are not uh, pushed at a single go to the batch job. Like we have some internal SCADA queue, like records are lined up. So suppose initial first 10 records are taken from that queue. So if any error occurs, the batch job will process only the records which are in flight, which are already picked up from the queue. It will process those records, and it will directly and if there is any issue, it will directly go to on complete phase. It won't process the other records which are lined up in the queue, because so for example, we had 100 records in the collection. First 10 records were taken from the queue. So if there is any error, so only those 10 records which are in flight, which are in the queue, those will be processed, stop the execution, and it will go to the batch job like on complete phase. And in the on complete phase, like we can generate a report using some functions, like we'll have we'll get a batch jobs result set. From that payload, we can extract like what was the total records, and what is how many records were processed, and what was the success record, like how many records were successfully processed and how many records were failed. And we can have some if you want to send because basically this is nothing but it will log to the console. We can generate a custom report, even define some if we define some threshold, then we can have some calculation, like if that failed record is equals to or greater than threshold value, then we can print like threshold has been breached. And we can send this report to like we can have an email connector, and we can notify someone. We can have a cloud hub notification, we can have anything. So like wherever we want to send this report. So on the in the on complete phase, so we can send these statistics. So let me just run out this batch job. uh, for example, for now I will keep a threshold value to 2. Let me clear the so like if you don't define any threshold, if you don't uh, like have any proper error handling, then basically as soon as first error is occurs, the batch processing will stop, and it will go to the on complete phase. So it's better like we define the threshold value. And even if we want to we can have some use those try scopes within okay. Okay. So for example, the batch job started processing records, like we have records like employee ID, the employee information. We have configured the failed records as a threshold value as 2. And out of those records, we can like this batch step will process whose experience is greater than 4. So for example, for that particular payload, uh, in the validation module, I have configured like the designation should be lead if his overall experience is great, meet our criteria, and it has like it throws the error, but it is still processing the other records, if you can see, because we have set the threshold value to 2. We have crossed the threshold limit. The processing, it is no more processing. It went step we have on failure, so it is handling like it is the failed records will be processed over here in the next batch step. So if you see like the 2 records which were failed, those got processed in the second batch, because we have configured only failure, like at the step level we have configured only failures, and now we have the statistics. So you can statistics like total records, total successful records, and total failed records, and we can send this report to the intended recipients. So this is one of the use case. And for example, second use case, if you don't configure anything, if you configure like -1, like then what happens? Like it will process all the records coming in the list. It won't stop the execution. So these error strategies like which we discussed for batch jobs, so those are like defined by MuleSoft itself, like the threshold, setting up the threshold value. Okay. Somehow like batch job gets stuck. Let me try to clear the application data because I've encountered this issue earlier as well. Yeah, so whatever 3 scenarios we discussed, so those are like specified by MuleSoft itself. Like if you want to have the kind of threshold or continue processing all the records, or if you want to stop the batch processing as soon as we encounter first error scenario. But yeah, we can have some custom error handling, like within the batch step itself. We can have triscope or something as per our requirement. And now we know the how to use the triscope, and which error handler we should use to continue processing or to propagate. So we can have some triscope within the step, and we can handle like log those error stack trace, or push those failed records to some XYZ system. But as we mostly we won't require that. Um, we won't need to implement such scenarios, because we have like option of processing failed records at the step level itself. So I guess no need to have any custom error handling for batch processing. Okay. So okay, so it will continue as we have configured the max failed record to -1. It will continue processing all the records. And over here, anyways, we have accepted the failed records. So yeah, so that's it from the batch job. Is there any question related to error handling in batch job?
What is the difference between batch block size parameter in batch job and batch aggregator size in the batch aggregator? This is a question from Ashley. What is the difference between batch block size parameter in batch job and batch aggregator size in batch aggregator?
Okay. So for example, like we have thousands of records in the input collection. So batch block size, whatever we have defined. So not all the 1,000 records will be pushed to the batch job in a single go. The first 100 records, as I told, we'll be having some internal queue where the records will be lined up. So like we will process first 100 records out of that 1,000 records collection. We'll process the first 100 records. After processing those first 100 records, it will those 100 records will go back to the queue, and next 100 records will be processed. So that is the use of batch block size. And within the batch aggregator, suppose we have 100, we have taken those first 100 records, and in the step one we have some execution. So if we configure the aggregator size as 10, so after processing 10 records, uh, those uh, uh, those 10 records can move to next step. Those 10 records will be aggregated, and it will be pushed back to the queue. And after that only, if you don't have aggregator in place, so those 100 records, once it is processed, after that only that messages will be pushed back to the a batch job internal queue. And if you have aggregator, so after processing of 10 records, like whatever is our aggregator size, so those messages will be repushed to the queue, and after that next it will be moved to the next batch step. And we can have some operations as well within the aggregator. We can configure something. Hope this answers your question.
So just to add to Sajid's point, so there is a difference when you will use a batch aggregator and this batch block size. So like he mentioned, the batch block size will define the internal queue size of each batch in your batch processing. Whereas when
Right.
you use an aggregator, so inside a batch processor, each record is treated or processed individually. So for example, if you have a business use case where you want to process or transform each record, but you want to send it to a Salesforce system, and the Salesforce API has a limitation that it can accept only 500 records. So that is where you can use an aggregator. And when you define the aggregator size, that means it will collate all those parallel records in a batch of 500 and it will send to Salesforce. So that is the difference, that the batch size, batch block size will define the batch size of the internal queue, and your aggregator batch size will define the size of collection of the records to do the necessary to do the next action. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, even if we have any other questions, we'll take it after the quiz session, because then only people who have queries can wait and others can drop, because we have just some time to go. Anyway, so let's start with the questions. So please be attentive. I'll be posting a question. There will be 4 options. You have to choose correct, and the one who's answering the correct question and definitely is quicker will win. So, and we'll make a note of the email IDs, so don't forget to mention the email IDs also, whoever is winning. Okay, so the first question is, which I'm posting, just hold on. I hope you all can see the question.
Yes.
So we have started getting the answers. Okay. Somebody wrote fatal. Where was the fatal in the option? There are options also, guys, A, B, C, D. So Sumit, can you please help me to choose the one who has
Yeah.
correctly answered?
Give
Let's
me a
just wait.
second.
Let people, answer maybe.
Okay. What type of error occurs? The answer is, what is the answer, Supriya? Just tell him.
The answer is
C, right?
B, system errors.
I guess Jagdish
Okay.
has answered it correctly.
Uh,
Jagdish Goripati.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually,
Jagdish
even here,
Goripati has answered. Yes,
Yep.
even,
correct. And lots of people have
yeah.
answered D. Not sure why. but the answer is B. Okay. I'm posting the second question.
Wait.
Jagdish,
So
you
yeah, before
please,
that, yeah. We need his ID, right? Jagdish
yeah,
Gurupati.
Jagdish, please DM your ID to Sumit, to me, to Sandeep, or maybe you can post it in QA session.
Even Yash, like he was very close to the answer, but that option was not available. Like fatal is nothing
Yash,
but even in that
yeah,
case, mule events won't be involved.
yes,
But yeah,
yes.
that is
But yeah,
not in the
Sajid,
option.
like as per the question,
We have to
Jagdish
choose
Mohan.
something from the option.
Yep.
Okay, the another one is, what is the mule default error handling behavior? On error, continue, propagate. Okay, MuleSoft does not have any default error handler. So I don't have.
Jyotsna Devi Reddy has answered B. I guess B is right answer, right? Honor and
B
propagate.
is the right answer. Correct,
Yeah,
correct.
so
So
Yeah.
I
Jyotsna
Jyotsna,
guess
Devi Reddy.
please send your email ID. Yeah, yeah, Sajid, tell me.
no. I like most of them have understood the concept. That's why we see a lot of correct answer for this question.
That we will leave up to them in the feedback. That room is for people. But thank you
Yeah.
guys. I
Yeah.
mean, it was indeed very interactive. I can sense that. The third is third question I'm posting, guys. Stop answering the question which was for B. This is the third one. Recoverable errors are also known as poison transient permanent system error. Okay. Recoverable
Read
errors
the
are also
question
known as.
carefully, guys. Once read the question carefully. I think the answer is in the question itself.
Options. Options.
Thanks, Sumen. The answer is always in the options, but this one is
Is it that
also.
tough? I don't see people marking the answer for this. I don't know. Yeah,
Maybe let's check
yeah, we are
general
getting,
section.
we are getting, we are getting.
Suman Veera is posted in the general section. Okay.
Mohit, you're saying my screenshot is not visible. Sorry, which screenshot?
No, he was assuming like you will share a screen for asking questions, but then
No, I am not. I am posting it here.
you can see the
Okay,
time. It
so
was
as we know, the answer is B. The B first. Can we
Suman
check,
Veera.
please? Yeah. Suman, can you send your email ID to Sumit? And the last question is this. So far, I think Jagdish, Suman, and who answered the second one?
Jyotsna.
Okay. The fourth question is this. You can raise custom error with an existing namespace. True or false? Hold on, hold on. Balam Kunda AA is wrong. Mala has said no. Mala
Yeah,
has
I
said
think
no.
Mala has said the correct answer.
Yeah, so that is right. Okay, so Mala, it would have been great if you have chosen true or false, but that's fine. We are giving it this time. Okay, thank you guys. I think this was all about
Wait,
the
Supriya,
quiz.
wait. I
Yes,
have
yes.
posted all the four members. I haven't got any of the email IDs yet. Okay.
Yes,
So
yes,
guys,
well, guys,
please.
please, if you don't send email IDs, it's very difficult for us to figure it out, and then you won't be getting the training vouchers.
Okay, I've got only one from Mala now.
Malas, Jagdish, Jyotsna, Suman. Please send your email IDs. And I request other people to come on the video just for one click, whoever are the attendees. Let's start everybody making the presenter, Sumit, and even Sanjana, you and Sajid can make. Start making people presenter, please. Start doing that so that they can come on the video. You just have to click those dots and correct, Sumit? Sumit,
Yeah.
actually, I'm not getting that option. Haha, I've started getting it. So just click on the
Okay, I've
person
got all
name
the email
and
IDs.
yes,
Okay,
great, Sumit,
set as
fine.
host.
Okay, start making people presenter, please. Guys, this doesn't mean you have to leave the meeting and go. Please just wait for the one click. I think it was very interactive. I think thanks most of the people who are asking the question. Thanks for making it as interactive as possible. When we look at the concepts like error handling and etc., we think that it's a day-to-day task, but there are definitely a standard practice and standard things to be followed in that, which generally, a lot of developer tends to forget. So this was indeed a most important topic, and that's the reason we went for this topic. We would like to bring such a topics for a Kochi MuleSoft meetup, wherein it is in day-to-day use, and it will make most use to all of you people.
And guys, let's have focus on the feedback form as well. Please be genuine. So help us to help you in our next upcoming meetups. Okay.
Yes, please. And whoever doesn't have a presenter access, please ask for it. Um,
And most
Yeah,
thank
important,
you,
please don't
Devendra.
leave all. Don't please click on leave all.
Please.
Yeah. Please come on video for at least 10 seconds. I'll click a photo.
Yeah, you'll get to feature in our posts and our pictures. And guys, I think meetup to me at least is helping in a lot of other ways. Like there are different cities and other groups, they are also conducting very nice and important topics. So it is helping me, but ask your friends also to start joining the meetups. It honestly helps.
Okay,
I
let me
think
take a quick pic now.
most of the people are hosts now. Can you come? The winners can come,
You
please.
can take a picture, right?
Mala, Roshan, can you come on video?
So yeah, I'm taking a pic now. Okay.
Vishal, can you come on video? Yes, yes.
Okay. So yeah. All right. Done. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, guys. And as you know, we are there available on the email IDs, on the LinkedIn, and on other social sites also. For if you want to become a speaker in the next meetup, we can definitely get in touch and discuss the further things. For any other community help, also you can ping the organizers, mail the organizers. Okay, let's try to be as interactive as possible. And thank you guys for joining session today. I hope it was
Thank you all
worth
for
it,
being
and
a wonderful audience.
do fill up a feedback forms. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everybody. Bye
Okay.
bye.
Thank you,
Thanks all.
everyone. Thanks.
Thank you, audience.
Thank
Have a
you.
nice day. Take care.